Welcome to the National Championships. You're watching the Stream Team here in Fort Worth, Texas. We're inside Dickies Arena, already finished session number 1, where we saw LSU and Cal advance to the final session, which is going to be held on Saturday. So we're here today with 4 more teams, 2 of which are going to advance to the final session. My name is Samantha Peshik, and I'm alongside Bridget Sloan. We were on the same Olympic team. We were on the same World Championship team. We grew up together. And now we're waving, and we're waving. We're having a good time. This is the Stream Team. We're talking vault, and we're talking beam, 2 of our favorite events. Bridget, this section is going to be tight. What do these teams need to do if they want to advance to Saturday?
Well, Sam, all 4 teams competing in this semifinal number 2 have not normally always advanced to that final day, but they're very comfortable advancing, so they have to stick. It is truly going to come down to which team had the most sticks. And Oklahoma starting on vault. This is Faith Torres. Oh, and that is not what they wanted to start with. That is really uncharacteristic by Faith.
I know our job is to be talking right now, but I'm speechless. I mean, extremely uncharacteristic. They have so many athletes, 9 athletes, that can pretty much put up 10-0 vaults. And the way Oklahoma has been choosing lineups is whoever's been hot in the warm-up and in touch. And Faith is usually money right here. But that just goes to show there's a lot on the line. You can feel the pressure, Bridget.
And Sam, I'll be honest, watching Faith in practice day yesterday and in warm-up, she had so much power going into it. So really uncharacteristic. Switching over to balance beam for Utah. Big event here for Utah. This is Amelie Morgan.
I love watching her on beam, and if you've been following Amelie Morgan, you notice her mount is different, and that's because she had her first fall of her collegiate career on Pac-12s on her unique mount. I loved it, but Carly said it wasn't helping her out. So they're playing it safe and taking out a little bit of the extra finesse just to have that guaranteed hit in this leadoff spot. Head coach Carly Dockendorf said they started on beam in the past at nationals and regionals last year. They haven't had to do it much, so they've been adding beam inter-squads to start their training just to get comfortable with this rotation order. But the goal for Utah is to be aggressive from the start. Beam has been one of their stronger events, so they can get ahead right here.
Sam, I think this is an event for Utah where they can kind of pull themselves away. They are all beautiful on beam, but one thing that they bring is the confidence. I mean, wow.
That routine right there. If they can get 6 of those, I mean, that should be a 9-9 plus or higher. And if the 2 teams that are going to advance, they're starting with those 9-9 pluses.
Huge start for Utah. Back to vault. This is Kira Wells coming after Faith Torres, who unfortunately sat her vault down. This is a big moment for Kira.
Huge.
Watching her in warm-up, I won't lie. Big vault here. She was over-rotating it, getting lots of amplitude. See what she does here. This is a 10-0 start value. So Yurchenko 1.5. Beautiful. Absolutely excellent job. You're going to see 6 athletes compete, so only 5 scores will count. So right now, Oklahoma, they have to drop Faith Torres 9.325, and Kira Wells really setting that team back up, getting the tone back. They've got a lot of talent on this Oklahoma team, and vault truly is one of their best events. They are ranked #1 on vault, and you just saw why.
Yeah, but man, does that add a lot of pressure to the back 5 of that lineup.
And over to beam for Utah. This is McKenna Smith coming after. Sam, you said that was your 9.9 plus routine. Well, the judges agreed with you. Amelie Morgan just posted a 9.925.
Yeah, that was well deserved. This is a legacy team at Utah. They've qualified to every single national championship. And regionals, they had to really dig themselves out of a hole. It was impressive for me to see the grit and determination, because they were pretty far deep in that hole, Bridget. They had to work and save every 10th. After that meet, they had a team meeting and gave the upperclassmen a piece of paper and asked, why do you think we haven't won since 1995? And the big takeaways were team chemistry, true care for one another, not trusting in their gymnastics, and caring for each other, and that team chemistry was the biggest. But interestingly enough, in November, they did that at preseason. In November, they had the underclassmen write down what was unique about this team. And it was all the things that the upperclassmen said they needed to win a national championship. So it's a team that has the pieces and they have the confidence to get the job done.
Sam, so far Utah starting out on balance beam. It
could not be better.
It's the hardest event in college gymnastics and gymnastics in general. Balance beam is the hardest event in Utah right now. They're coming in that 5th spot overall. I mean, they're posting some big scores here.
Yeah, they do not want to get themselves into a stressful situation like regionals.
And transitioning back to vault, Jordan Bowers. She has ice in her veins. She is one of the most decorated NCAA gymnasts competing in this competition.
But the pressure's on.
Wow. Whoa. Really not used to seeing this vault lineup from Oklahoma. It looks like they're trying so hard to stick.
Yeah, this is a tough session, Bridget. And a team like Oklahoma that a lot of us have thought to be bulletproof throughout this season, you're really seeing those nerves show up.
She did not sit it down, which is really important. Sitting that vault down would have been... I don't want to say it would have been over, but it would have been pretty bad. But we're going to transition back over to balance beam. This is Grace McCallum.
She was an athlete that had a fall at regionals, and we talk about uncharacteristic. We say that a lot with these mistakes because these athletes at this level are just so good. They rarely make those mistakes, and someone like Grace McCallum that has an Olympic medal come to college, and Bridget, you and I both know that transition can be difficult. What was the hardest part for you transitioning from that Olympic level to college?
Honestly, it was competing every single weekend. It was really, really challenging on my body. It was really challenging mentally, but I will say once you get used to it, it really kind of opens up your eyes to the fun of gymnastics again. So it does take a little bit of time, but Grace specifically has really just kind of molded herself into this amazing college athlete, knowing that her team depends on her, knowing that in clutch situations, she can be there.
Yeah, we did a feature on her at regionals. She was talking about how lonely the elite world is. You and I both trained by ourselves, very crooked. I think she's laughing it off. It'll be interesting to see what the judges do with that.
Turned a little early there, but one thing she did, she got the stick.
Yeah, and she just talked about coming to college and having that team environment because like we always say, college is so different.
And back over to vault for Oklahoma. This is Kat Levasseur. Right now, Oklahoma, they're gonna have to count a 9.45 from Jordan Bowers. So these next three have to hit.
Nearly perfect, I would say.
Kat Levasseur, she's got huge potential with this vault. Oh no. This is not good.
Really, this is, I mean, detrimental, Bridget. I think you can come back from 9.4. I don't think in this competition you can come back from multiple 9.4s.
They just seem really tight and really rigid. And again, looking at the scores, Faith Torres with that 9.325, Kira Wells with a huge 9.9, but Jordan Bowers with the 9.45 and Kat Levasseur.
And they've got two underclassmen to finish them off here.
Well, we're gonna move over to balance beam. Abby Polson for Utah getting those wise words right before her beam routine. And Sam, in moments like this, if you're Utah, you have really a strong lineup right now on a event that gives a lot of athletes and teams problems. What is your mind thinking if you're Abby Polson going after Grace? She just went 9.8875. they're looking smooth.
Yeah, and I'm gonna say it, that's the score that they're gonna wanna drop with the rest of the athletes in the lineup. I think Abby Paulson is the most underrated beam worker in the country. She is just money. You can tell her mental approach is so steady. That was extremely short, and I think only you and I would know that. Her lunge was a little bit smaller than normal, and she was gonna land with a pike in her hips, but quickly got her chest up to fix it. Great adjustment. And a lot of teams dislike starting on beam. I think you've been alluding to that, but for this Utah team, I actually couldn't imagine a better place for them to start. Getting it out of the way, they're really confident. I think, to your point, they can gain a little bit of a lead here, and I think it'll serve them well throughout this competition. I mean, how many stuck landings? They're 4 for 4.
So far, so good for this Utah team. Starting on balance beam, heading back to vault for Oklahoma. Hannah Scheibel, this is a big moment. They have to count Kat's 9.375. They're counting a 9.45 and a 9.9 right now. This is a 10-0 start value. Little different than the Yurchenko. It's a front pike with a half.
Nicely done.
Excellent job. Oklahoma right now, you've got to get that energy back. You've got to get that energy back. You see her teammates cheering for her, letting her, it's not over till it's over. Oklahoma has so much talent on all 4 events, but in a meet like tonight, this semifinal number 2, it's gonna come down to not only those stuck landings, but who is gonna hit. And right now, starting on vault, Oklahoma is not where they thought they would be.
Yeah, and I'm just remembering regionals is the last experience that I saw where this happened. They started on an event, had a couple falls, and really had to dig their way out. And to your point, more than the score is the energy. It is so hard to get up and to stay motivated and encouraging and have that hope when you're looking at those scores.
And heading over to beam, talking about energy and positivity, Miley O'Keefe for Utah is really, she defines that for this Utah team.
Yeah, she owns the top spot all alone in the Utah record books for the most amount of career 10s, and you're gonna see why. Side aerial, back layout, step out, slight adjustment. Head coach Carly Dockendorf said, I really leaned into her a lot at regionals. They needed her leadership personally, and the team needed it. So she really is a veteran leader, not just with her gymnastics, but her presence on the team too. And if they had one little wobble at regionals, they wouldn't have made it here to nationals. It's the artistry, it's that natural beam worker. Trying to approach beam with a more business-like mindset, and she did it.
That was outstanding.
Yeah,
for Miley and this Utah team.
and they have 5 solid scores, and in this competition, you need 6, in my opinion. But at least they got 5.
Absolutely. And there is a last-minute lineup change for Oklahoma. This is Audrey Davis in that 6th spot, which Audrey and Ava have been going back and forth pretty much all season long. There is a lot of pressure on Audrey right now. This is a crucial moment for her and her team.
And my guess is they changed it. You're comparing a senior with experience. She has national championships behind her with the freshman.
Yurchenko 1.5.
And, you know, she's looking at her teammates under rotating. Usually, she's got to give it some more juice.
Over-rotating in a time like that, you got to stay on your feet.
It's tough because you can see why she made that technically quote-unquote good mistake, but in this competition, you gotta get them to the ground. You gotta squeeze and get those sticks, and it's just extremely strange for a team that is known for that throughout the season.
And up next for Utah, this is the final competitor in this Utah lineup, Jalen Gilstrap.
Over Christmas break, they read all about rowing the boat and coming together and going against all the odds, right? And it's really interesting, especially when we talk about athletes like Jalen Gilstrap, because she competed floor all year, beam early in the season, but at Pac-12s, they told her, you need to start training beam like you're gonna compete. Whoo-hoo. Little slip there. And at high pressure meets last year, the same situation happened. Grace fell this year at regionals, and Jalen Gilstrap was the reason that Utah is here in this competition, which is interesting because she looks a little nervous, but she has a lot less riding on this routine than she did at regionals. Carly told her, you've done it once, you can do it again. But they have really strong scores here on beam. I'm guessing they're most likely gonna drop Jalen's score right here. Oh, yes, definitely gonna drop Jalen's score. It's good that they have 5 in the bank. Maybe she's an athlete that actually needs more pressure. She needs a fall early in the lineup for her to get the job done.
Well, Sam, you mentioned in semifinal 1 that you actually operated a lot better under pressure. It's a different feeling than knowing that you can just kind of get up there. You know what? Pressure makes diamonds.
Yeah.
End of story.
A good finish, and again, 6 scores, you can drop 1. Only 5 scores count, and Utah had 5 great scores in the bank.
Now over to vault. Gabby Wilson competing as an individual here from Michigan. Rotating with that Oklahoma Sooner team, which unfortunately they actually have the lowest vault score since 2008. So not the way the Sooners wanted to start, but Gabby Wilson here, she's got a huge vault. It's a Yurchenko 1.5 powerhouse right here. Big step forward, but stayed on her feet, and competing as an individual, it's hard.
It is hard. It's really hard not having your team there. But I gotta say, I love her white Leo. I normally don't love white Leos, and there's something about Gabby wearing that white Leo that she is just angelic.
Very fierce out there. And over to balance beam, competing as an individual. This is Selena Harris from UCLA. Sam, your alma mater.
Yeah, disappointing not to see UCLA qualify here in the championships. But that's how good so many of these teams are. There's so much parity, and it's teams like UCLA, like Michigan, that we're used to seeing here, and you gotta be that much better every single year. You cannot get complacent. But Selena Harris qualified for this beam spot. Talked to one of her coaches, BJ Doss, and I said, tell me about Selena Harris. And before I even finished the question, she said, cool as a cucumber. Beam in gymnastics is just so easy for her. And she is an athlete that likes pressure, doesn't like pressure. You can put her first, last, probably with her eyes closed.
That's kind of the ideal athlete in a coach's eye, is being able to have those athletes who will thrive in no matter what position they're in.
Her body understands gymnastics, and when I watch her on beam especially, if she's a little off, she adjusts very well, that it's not a big deal. She does not react to any sort of misplacement. If she sticks this, I mean, she could be in consideration for the beam title.
Well,
Too
Sam,
easy. Too easy.
She just my outstanding job for Selena Harris competing as an individual, which is something to mention that these individuals, this is their moment to capture those titles. So huge moment for Selena. You see high fives all around.
UCLA has a lot of individual beam titles. It would warm my heart to see it come back the Bruin direction this year.
Sam, are you insinuating you have one or two?
Yeah, just a couple. I mean, you took a couple too, so.
Well, that wraps up rotation number 1. Don't go anywhere because it is gonna get crazy with rotation number 2. I'm Bridget Sloan with Samantha Peshek. Stay tuned for rotation number 2 coming up.
Welcome back to session 2 of the National Championships. We got a wild start to this meet. Oklahoma came in as the favorites. The conversation has been who can beat Oklahoma. And after the first rotation, it looks like Oklahoma has beaten Oklahoma, meaning they got in their own heads and made a ton of uncharacteristic mistakes. I think everybody in the audience has their mouth open out of shock and surprise. They are currently sitting in 4th place. After the first rotation, they are behind by more than a point from all the other teams. It has been wild here. But the good parts about rotation number 1 is that Utah put up a season high on beam, which is a really tough event to start on. Could be tough to start on. They have a 49.6375. In 2nd place is Alabama with a 49.4875. And in 3rd place, just a little bit behind, is 49.45. That's Florida for you. I'm Samantha Peshek alongside Florida Gator, Bridget Sloan. Who do we got here?
Forget about me, Sam. For Florida, this is Skylar Drazer, freshman, big vault here. And that's a stuck Yurchenko 1.5.
For a second, I thought the vault table was either too high or too low the way that Oklahoma was vaulting, but Skylar Drazer goes in and says, nope, everything's fine. I'm just gonna go and stick this vault.
Everything is peachy over here. Skylar really showing out in this freshman year for her, doing things that I think she knew was possible, but the coaching staff said they really bought into her preparation, how she trained, and it shows because she has been lights out for them. Transitioning over to balance beam, this is Lily Hudson for Alabama. Sam, they were lights out on bars. Now transitioning over to balance beam. This is the event where they really have to calm their nerves, take a deep breath, and be one with beam, one might say.
Yeah, the theme for this Alabama team, I think you and I can talk about rhythm and talk about identity of each team's beam. And for Alabama to do well on this event, it's different than, let's say, Cal, where they're a little bit more fluid. Alabama needs to be aggressive from start to finish in this lineup. Early in the season, they were juggling a lot of athletes in this leadoff position. And once Lily Hudson was in this leadoff position, light bulb moment for me. I was like, of course, she is such a steady, athletic competitor. She's composed, and when she salutes, she has that look of, I'm going to make this routine. And that's half the battle, really, on balance beam.
Balance beam is all about being confident, not only in your skills, but also having that team confidence in you. And in that leadoff position, Lily right now, her job, well, she's doing her job because she is hitting, her routine. Wow. Alabama's looking hot here tonight.
Alabama and Utah are the teams I'm looking at right now. And it's not just because they did well on their first event. It's that look they have in their eye that I don't think anything can stop them. I don't know. What do you think?
I think the only thing stopping them is themselves, which in gymnastics is super challenging because it really is a sport that you have to believe in yourself always. And speaking of believing in themselves, this is Victoria Wynn for Florida, second up in this vault rotation. And talk about believing in herself. This is a big moment for her. She's had trouble with this vault in the past. Yurchenko 1.5.
Not today. She overshoots it a little. That'll be a deduction, but I think the Florida coaches are almost encouraging that step forward after the first rotation.
Well, and head coach Jenny Rowland even said, I really want to see them take their vaults to higher expectations, to raise that bar, because she knows that they have the talent. She knows they can do it. And again, all they got to do is believe in themselves. Heading back over to beam. This is Maddie Waligora coming after Lily Hudson's 9.9.
Great start for Alabama on beam. When we did our coaches call with head coach Ashley Johnston, she said, if you want to win the national championship, you have to tell your roommate to pick up their dishes. And we were a little confused by that. And she said, no, when things get hard, your team has a no tolerance for letting it go. You have to not be nervous or scared or afraid of your teammates. And that's what this team has done well throughout the season, is keeping each other accountable. And it's in these pressure moments that it really shows up.
Sam, I think all season long, Alabama, they've just looked like a different team.
Yeah.
They've got this excitement and energy to them that, as an individual and me personally, I pay a lot of it to the coaching staff. They've really changed the culture there, and it's showing every single meet. But this meet particularly, in practice yesterday, and I think I spoke a little too soon. That is a huge deduction, 5/10 deduction. This is the score that Alabama is going to have to drop.
Yeah, but to your point, they've been working on culture and how gritty they are, and these are the moments. These are the moments that it counts.
Dismount. Not the routine that Maddie and her team are looking for. But again, you're going to see 6 athletes compete, 5 scores count, but just some uncharacteristic mistakes here.
But you want to know something positive I'm taking? She could put her head down, she could be pouting, and the first thing she did when she looked away is clapped and said, let's go. So she's still trying to be there for her team, which is really important.
Back over to vault for Florida. This is Anya Pilgrim, freshman star, who really has had a breakout year for her.
Well, half their vault lineup is freshmen.
One thing I love is this is a big Yurchenko 1.5.
Wow. Look at that look in her eye. She's looking at Adrian like, did you see that? I
know you saw this vault, right? I mean, if you want to talk about a cool, calm, just go with the flow athlete, it is Anya.
Hey, she can contend for the vault title with that vault.
Absolutely excellent.
What a superstar and just a freshman. First bird in the high fiver is Trinity Thomas.
Naturally. And back over to balance beam. This is Ella Burgess coming after Maddie Waligora. She did have that ball. So this is the moment for Ella to get her team back on track. And these next 4 athletes have to hit.
Ella is used to being in the leadoff spot. This is actually the first year of her career where she's been pushed back in the lineup. So if there's somebody that is used to setting the tone, or in this case, resetting the tone, it's Ella. She has this smile and calming presence about her. You see head coach Ashley Johnson giving her that last-minute pep talk and reminding her, you put in the work. In preseason, they probably have done hundreds. How many routines do you think a gymnast does in a season?
A lot, Sam.
Hundreds. Reminding them that you've done hundreds, probably almost perfect routines. You just got one more.
I think the NCAA championship really brings out those athletes who can look at this competition as just another meet, because it really is. It's just another beam routine, floor, vault, bars. It really, you can't look at it as anything more than that. You're just on podium, which normally helps. It does help athletes. And Ella Burgess for Alabama coming after Maddie Waligora, 9.025.
Yeah. This is an important routine for Alabama.
Oh, no. And that,
man, not how Alabama wanted to do beam. They had a little bit of trouble on beam earlier in the season, and then really got it together
Sam, we talked about how in semifinal number 1 it was tough, but we knew that this semifinal number 2 was going to just be.
We got a ball game. We got a ball game.
All 4 teams that are competing in this second semifinal are used to being in that final day.
Yeah.
But only 2 will advance. This is very interesting here in Dickies Arena.
Yeah, you can tell she is feeling the nerves. And you talk about this session being so tough. You look at Florida, OU, Alabama, and Utah. 23 of the 41 NCAA championships were won by one of these 4 teams.
Nice finish for Ella, but not the beam rotation that Alabama was looking to have.
No. Only 7 teams in the NCAA history have won an NCAA title. 4 of them are in this session.
Over to vault, another freshman. This is Danny Ferris for the University of Florida.
You know what's ironic is I think a lot of people have counted Florida out throughout this season. They have a lot of freshman competitors. They started really slow, and the way the competition is going, if they just hit 6 for 6, they might easily qualify.
Nicely done for Danny Ferris, a freshman. The one thing that I love about the freshmen on this Florida team is they're not afraid to get into the lineup. They own this lineup, and they do a great job. I mean,
yeah, I'm always impressed with head coach Jenny Rowland and how chill and calm she is. I think every team, we talk about this, has a personality. And from Jenny's shoe collection, her dunks, to her demeanor, she really, I think, has a great perspective on sports and fostering fully well-rounded student athletes.
Well, Sam, I was coached by Jenny, so that makes total sense of the well-rounded athletes that come out of this program at the University of Florida. But heading back over to beam, this is Gabby Gladio. And Sam, if I need a guaranteed hit on an event and I'm Alabama, I'm putting Gabby Gladio in that lineup.
Well, it helps when you work beam angry. So Alabama's angry now, and sometimes it's just easier to make your routine because there's no other option in your head other than to make this routine.
Angry beam is good beam.
They cannot afford another fall. They can maybe not afford to count this one fall, let alone 2. Switch lead into that split jump. She's usually money with this dismount. They need a stuck landing. They need every 10th now. She fought for it. That'll be a little deduction.
Slight shuffle there, but again, if you are Alabama, you can't afford the mistake. So they are going to be fighting for every single 10th. And over to vault, this is Leanne Wong for the University of Florida. Right now, Florida looking to drop. Victoria wins 9.85.
Leanne's got a career high of a perfect 10. Past summer, she competed at Worlds and actually got 7th on vault.
Big vault here, lots of power. And a stick.
You know, I've actually seen her shuffle her feet more this year than ever, and I was hoping to see that perfect stick position. She waited to the NCAA championships.
I mean, if you're gonna stick a vault, you might as well wait till the just most precise moment. And honestly, what better time?
Yeah, I was gonna say she had a 4-incher, which usually is harder to stick when you have that extra padding.
Head coach Jenny Rowland giving her the wow factor because that was a wow vault. Anything Leanne does is just, she does it to the max. And she does it so well. Transitioning over to balance beam. This is Shania Adams for Alabama coming after Gabby Gladio, 9.875. Respectable score for Alabama, but if they want to stay in this, they've got to hit some 9.9s in this beam
9.9 plus, I'd say. And the last two athletes in their lineup are absolutely capable. What stands out about Shania is just her presence on beam. She has beautiful posture and her skills. Ooh, breaking that connection.
Saw that right foot come up just a little bit.
So when athletes have a break in the connection, it means that they are not going to get the extra bonus tenths.
Now, Sam, as an athlete who was very good at beam, as you were, if you did have a break in that connection, how did you recover from that?
Depends if she needs it or not. Oh, no. Oh, man. Is it just our stream, Bridget? Because I don't know if Kennedy and Anastasia are having the same struggles on their two events. This is so disappointing. I mean, it's certainly not something that Alabama can come back from now.
That is the third fall in this beam lineup.
Just falling apart, unfortunately, here on beam, and really on an event that they have been good on.
Right. They've had struggles, yes, but nothing like this. I mean, this is bad.
Yeah. Yeah, really disappointing, especially after the first event was so hot for them.
And back to vault we go. This is Ellie Lazari for the University of Florida in this anchor position. I talked to assistant coach Adrian Burde before, and I said, your vault lineup is looking pretty good. He said, don't jinx me. But Ellie specifically, I think, has been really putting in the work this entire season. She's got a Yurchenko 1.5 here.
They said she sticks them cold every single time in the gym.
Wow, that was quite the vault rotation for Florida.
You know, I'm laughing because, you know, Jenny is describing this particular group as more reserved, quiet, and listen, it might be the most hyped team on the floor right now.
Florida right now keeping the energy alive, which is so important in any competition. But when you are in a competition like this, where you have got the best of the best teams on every other event, you got to stay in your bubble, but you have got to keep that energy high. Talking about keeping the energy high right now, Alabama. This is Luisa Blanco in the anchor position, coming after Shania Adams, 9.2875. So Alabama will drop the 9.025 from Maddie, but they will be counting not one, but two falls.
Well, the chances of Alabama qualifying to the finals is really slim at this point. So tough to see and tough to compete knowing that. However, Luisa has won an NCAA beam title. So she's certainly capable of winning an individual medal too. She told me last week that this meet here was the reason she came back for a 5th year. She's worked on her mental game. Oh, man, wow. Just contagious falls over there on beam.
And Sam, I was gonna say that, Sam, because sticks are contagious, but guess what's also contagious? Falls. This is,
man, I've covered Alabama throughout the season, and they have so much heart. They've put a lot into this season, especially the upperclassmen. And Bridget, you and I both know how tough it is to be a senior. I came back for a 5th year, and I can tell you, the body of a 5th year, it is much harder than when you're a freshman and sophomore. So disappointing. But the good news about Luisa Blanco is she's already qualified to the Olympics for her country, for Colombia, excuse me.
And the dismount.
Great finish, and again, disappointing. they're gonna have to have a really big pep talk.
And over to vault, competing as an individual. You might know this name, but Jade Carey.
Who?
Jade Carey,
Who?
have you heard of her? From Oregon State. She is an outstanding athlete in the NCAA world, but let me tell you, she's even better, in my opinion, in elite. Competed as an individual in Tokyo and is just outstanding on vault.
She's doing the hardest vault in the competition, Yurchenko double full. And it's an athlete that you gotta watch. She could win the all-around.
She's got the height and the distance on this vault. 2 twists here.
It's pretty big.
It's pretty nice. Let's just say I also did that vault, and mine did not look like that.
I think you and I were both twisting into the ground.
You're supposed to
is that what it's supposed to look
vault.
like?
Oh. Jade Carey, being adopted by the University of Florida.
Yeah, she's continuing her elite career, and her dad, who's also her coach, told me that she's competing at American Classic just next week. So she's been doing both her elite routines and her college routines. And he said this has really been helping her elite career, just competing a lot and getting comfortable.
And over to balance beam, the final competitor of this rotation from the University of Kentucky is Isabella Magnelli, competing as an individual here.
I'm so happy that she qualified as an individual on beam. I really love watching her work beam. She has this finesse and flow about her routine that really stands out. Quick, back handspring layout. And even though she's not part of that Alabama team, you're feeling the vibe when you're an individual. So really tough to kind of go up after all of those falls, even if you're not on the team.
Gorgeous toe point and execution.
Yeah, she's sharp. She has the artistic qualities.
And the one thing that I love about Isabella is the extension and the follow through. Every single movement from start to finish.
Yeah, those details.
And the dismount.
Really nice routine for Isabella Magnelli. Wow. Disappointing that Kentucky did not qualify as a team. I think a lot of us in the NCAA were expecting them to, especially with her and Raina Worley on the team. It's tough to not see them in this competition.
And that wraps up rotation number 2 on the Vault and Beam live stream. I am Bridget Sloan with Samantha Peshek. Don't go anywhere because rotation 3 is coming up next.
Welcome back. We're halfway through the second session at NCAA Championships. This is the Vault and Beam stream team. And this is the stream team. If you want to watch implosions happen, apparently. I'm Samantha Peshek alongside Bridget Sloan, and we're only laughing to stop from crying because we have been wanting to see such amazing gymnastics, and while there have been a lot of bright spots, we have seen so many uncharacteristic things happen, first with Oklahoma on vault, then with Alabama on beam. So we're hoping that we've gotten all the falls out of the way from here on out. So to give you a score update, Utah is in the lead with a 99.225. Florida is in second with a 98.95, and then trailing are Oklahoma and Alabama. Oklahoma is still behind by almost 1 point, and Alabama is behind by more than 2 points. Whew, we got a lot going on here. What are you thinking, Bridget?
You know, I'm just really happy to be here with you, and I'm happy to be up here because it has just been interesting, needless to say. And Sam, we had a last-minute change-up on vault for Utah. This is Amelie Morgan getting ready, who is replacing Cami Winger on vault. We've been seeing a lot of last-minute changes, and these coaches, they really have to make what is going to be best for the team, what is going to be best for the team score. They need to advance. Amelie Morgan, she's got to put up a big one here. One and a half, but again, taking that step backwards, that's showing the judges I didn't fully rotate. So it is showing the judges, take the deduction. Right now, no team competing tonight, right now, can afford that.
Well, right now, Utah is up by more than a point. So if any team can handle an under rotation, I think it's Utah. But it's Oklahoma right here leading off with Audrey Davis that they're still trailing by a lot. They have to be nearly perfect if they even want a shot to get in that top 2. Not a conversation we thought we were going to have about Oklahoma tonight.
No, and Sam, sometimes angry beam is the best beam.
Yeah.
I would like to think that sometimes I had my best beam routines when I was a little upset with myself or upset with how things were going. So right now, Oklahoma, they don't just have to be on, they have to hit, and they have to be nearly perfect.
Back handspring layout. Yesterday was the practice day, and I was talking to Audrey Davis, and I said, how's the beam feel? She said, good, nice and flat. And then she said, I feels extra wide, actually. So beam is such a mental event, and if you can convince yourself that it's really straight or really wide, it's probably going to help you out.
Absolutely. Hey, whatever helps you.
Head coach KJ Kindler said this spot right here was the toughest for them to fill because their athlete Jenna was in that lean-off spot for 4 years. So they were torn because an athlete like Audrey Davis could get a 10 on beam, but they really thought that she was so mentally tough to be in this lead-off spot.
Just the dismount for Audrey.
Wow. That was basically a 10.
What I love about Audrey Davis is no matter what spot she is in the lineup, she's going to show up and she's going to own it. That is an athlete that they are so incredibly lucky to have. You see those hands flashing the 10.
I don't know if we've ever seen a 10 in the first spot at a national championship. That would be a first.
And back over to vault. This is Ella Service coming after Amelie Morgan's 9.8. This is another Yurchenko 1.5. It's a big ball. Let's see if she can stick it.
I actually thought that was going to be under-rotated. She was going to sit it down. I cannot believe she stuck that.
Wow. That was very impressive. And one notable thing about this Utah vault lineup, it is the first time that all 6 vaults are going to start from a perfect 10, which, Sam, we've talked about a lot in session 1 was that risk versus reward. Right now, Utah, they are leading by a significant amount, but anything can happen in this sport.
Well, it didn't work out for Oklahoma. They had 6 10-0 vaults, and it didn't work out for them. So, to your point, you really just don't know, and I think that's the really exciting part about college gymnastics right now is you've got to be on. You can't rely on difficulty. You can't rely on past experiences in this competition.
And up next for Oklahoma, this is Ava Sigfeldt.
She was the athlete that was pulled for Oklahoma in that 6th spot on vault. Head coach KJ Kindler said she has really good rhythm, calm presence. Oh, that's not how Oklahoma wanted to come to beam. She actually hasn't competed as much as some of the other athletes. She had a concussion in the fall and then an illness, so she wasn't ready at the beginning of the season.
Ava's job right now, really just to finish this routine as strong as possible. She has scored a perfect 10 on this event already this season.
Yeah, there's a lot of pressure on these athletes today, especially in this 2nd session.
Dismount.
So they can't afford another fall. And, you know, I'm saying that because I still feel like there's a sliver of a chance. If one of those top 2 teams makes a mistake, I think OU could slide in there. And I say that, but they still have so much They've so much to make
up. A lot
up.
of ground to make up.
They have so much.
They're going to need some help from these other teams. Moving over to vault for Utah, this is Ashley Glynn Ella. Just before her, 9.9125.
Utah is cooking.
Another Yurchenko, 1.5. Big step forward, big over rotation. Safe. It is a safe vault. It's gonna be okay for this Utah team in this vault lineup. But
she had so much juice, I thought she was gonna put her knee down in the front. That would be an interesting fall if you fall forward. I mean, it just shows how powerful of an athlete she is.
Sam, I'm going to be really honest with you. If I ever fell forward on a vault, I would look at the judges and say, did you see that over rotation? Give me some bonus
points. Get extra points. No one else fell forward. Do a front punch front out of it.
Let's just say I was not known for having a lot of juice on vault. But moving over to beam for Oklahoma, Jordan Bowers, who, Sam, I had the pleasure of covering Big 12s where she had not one, not two, but 3 perfect 10s in that meet. And one she did not have was balance beam. But Jordan she's icy on this event.
Such a fierce competitor, but we've already seen some uncharacteristic things from her and from this Oklahoma team. So, but you talk about that angry gymnastics. She's a fierce competitor, and coaches say that if she had any doubt, you wouldn't know it. She's got a strong upstairs, what they call it. Setting up for her series. Back handspring layout. Little balance check there with the front foot.
Sam, you're being a little nitpicky. There wasn't a balance check in my eyes.
Hey, we're talking about this Oklahoma team that has almost a point to gain. These routines need to be perfection.
And Jordan, coming after Ava's routine, they will need these next ones to not only, again, they can't just stay on the beam. They have to hit and be perfect. Slight shuffle on that landing, but Jordan Bowers,
she's getting them back on track.
Working to get that energy back up. Audrey Davis started things off with a 9.9625 in that leadoff position,
which I think is the top spot for the balance beam title as of now.
And over to Utah, getting jiggy with it.
Chilling, having a good time over there.
This is McKenna Smith coming after Ashley Glynn.
Jimmy doesn't know he's in our way.
Did you see the stick? Because I didn't.
But judging by their reactions, it looks like it was a stick.
It looked excellent. She was really amazing yesterday in practice day, really just showcasing. She wanted to do it. She kept saying, let me do another one, let me do another one. McKenna Smith, that's a 10-0 start value. Again, like I mentioned, this is the first time that Utah has had 6 10-0 start values in this vault lineup. So far, they're doing a great job looking to drop Amelie Morgan's 9.8.
Jimmy Pratt is their vault coach, and he spends a lot of time focusing on the front half of the vault versus the landing, and I think that's why we're seeing such positive results from this Utah team here.
And over to beam, this is Faith Torres, who unfortunately sat down her vault in that first rotation. And in gymnastics, even when you have a mistake, you have to throw it away and just move on to the next event. So this is a big moment for Faith to prove that she can put that aside, get up on this balance beam and hit this routine.
Yeah, head coach KJ Kindler said championships are won from the neck up, not your body. And this is the event that, wow, really uses a lot of that mental fortitude you practice. They really focus on the rhythm of their routine, and similar to Cal and that head coach Liz Crandall-Howell, they focus on not having any pauses. They want to transition from one skill right into the dance, back into a skill. That's the way they get the job done.
That was a pretty good routine. Pretty good. Faith showcasing that she is mentally tough. She can put that first rotation behind her in this third rotation, coming after Jordan Bowers, 9.9375. So they are putting up some big scores post Ava with that mistake. And back to vault we go for Utah. This is Jaden Rucker.
She actually had a fall on floor. So Utah had some pressure on that event as well.
And this is a Yurchenko 1.5.
Under-rotated. She's been an NCAA vault champion, and I think some of these athletes that have those titles, they want to repeat. They want that title again, and they're going too hard for the sticks and for that title.
And back to beam. This is Kat Lavasser. See, she's getting some last-minute pep talk from head coach KJ Kindler. Kat, in my opinion, is one of the most improved athletes on Oklahoma's team, really just showcasing that you can add events even in your senior season.
Yeah, she went through a lot of diet issues and allergies. She just got in the master's program for dietetics, but it really took her about 2 years to get it all figured out. And coaches say it's really helped with her confidence to feel better and to really just have the energy needed. I mean, think about how much energy you need as a student athlete. And if you're not getting the right foods for your body, it's really tough to make it through a practice. I think also what's interesting about this competition is that every one of these teams has had a fall.
Wow. Beautiful series there. Handspring layout, step out, which is a really uncharacteristic thing across the board for all 4 teams to have a fall. Maybe not counting a fall, but they've at least had a fall in the lineup. Crazy things are happening here.
The wild, wild west of the stream team. I don't know what's happening. Oh, man. Yeah.
Wow.
So I just keep saying it's unfortunate, and that's really what it is. They do the routines. They do the pressure sets. And I think this goes to show you cannot simulate the podium. You cannot simulate the pressure of a national championships in your gym.
So Oklahoma, they will have to count a fall.
Yeah, there's unfortunately no way that Oklahoma can come back from this. So I think, assuming that Florida does not implode on beam, which right now we're 2 for 2 for teams imploding on beam, Utah might be the only team in the clear since they're finishing on bars.
It's the perfect song playing right now, Sam. We might be the problem.
Yes. This is my first time doing stream team, so I thought I was going to be good luck for these athletes. I don't know.
Well, back to vault for Utah. This is Grace McCallum.
And they just need a hit at this point. Utah doesn't need a stick. You know, the conversation is much different. When we started this meet, it was who's going to stick the most. And now it's who's going to fall the least, which is just such an interesting conversation for the 4 teams we're seeing here. Florida just needs to hit their routines on beam. Or they just need to hit 5. They actually don't need to hit all of them. They just need to hit 5, and then they'll qualify.
Yeah. Back over to balance beam. This is Reagan Smith, a outstanding athlete for Oklahoma.
KJ Kindler likes to go through all of their routines with them before they salute. Usually it's good. Doesn't matter what you do before you get on beam, but you just need to do the same thing every single time. That's a big theme in gymnastics, is how robotic and how systematic can you be to take away the nerves and the variables.
I think, Sam, you and I both know better than anybody that consistency in gymnastics is huge, but in college gymnastics, it is key. I mean, it is vital to win.
Yeah. Reagan is excellent on this event. She's a 5th year. And this is really her event. But man, is it hard to do a beam routine knowing that your team has already had to count a fall? I don't even know if you feel pressure at this point. It's just a frustration is probably the right feeling. And let me tell you, you don't want to do beams sad or frustrated. Angry, good.
Yes.
Sad, bad.
I would definitely say, I know for myself, a frustrated Bridget on beam was never a good one. It was never a good one. And it is hard to put those emotions to side, knowing that your team is good at knowing that your team has the ability, but knowing that it's not possible.
And for a team that just really hasn't made many mistakes all year, and maybe that's the problem, is they haven't experienced having a fall and having to come back from a fall, that when you started to see mistakes, they weren't able to get back on track. And I'm seeing a lot of emotion from Reagan Smith, and KJ Kindler, head coach, has got to pull them together, because I think they know, right, that there's just no possibility of them making it to the finals. So she's got to convince them to go out on floor and finish strong.
And Sam, Maya Hooten competing as an individual.
Oh no, I saw her stick that so perfectly in touch.
Maya from Minnesota, an outstanding athlete. Personally, I love her on floor, but she is an amazing vaulter. And like you said, Sam, she has the ability to stick that. Just took a step there. You might have just seen the nerves kind of kick in.
I know, we've been joking with her, hey, can you just jump in the floor lineup and give everybody a little show? And that was a funny joke that me and her coaches were talking about yesterday.
And over to beam competing as an individual. This is Gabby Wilson from Michigan, who has really had a nice competition so far.
You're seeing her coach, Miley, coaching beam right there, who was actually an Oklahoma gymnast. You see her talking through Gabby's routine, and maybe she learned that from KJ Kindler, but again, it's really tough to be an individual on a team that's struggling throughout this meet.
One thing Gabby does so well on balance beam is she's powerful.
Back handspring layout,
Little
adjustment there.
Little non-aggressiveness on that series. Watching her in warm-up, she actually held that finish.
She's just such a good athlete, Bridget. And I'm looking at her parents right now, and her mom is filming, and her dad is nervously chewing his gum very quickly. But look at the height on those leaps. Textbook, and she just gets so incredibly high.
And Sam, this is a big dismount here.
Round off double back. Didn't get the stick, but a nice routine. Double backs are so hard to stick consistently.
Sam, double backs are hard in general.
And OU giving her a high five.
And that wraps up rotation number 3. Don't go anywhere, because the final rotation is coming up next. I'm Bridget Sloan with Samantha Peshek. This is the Vault and Beam stream. Don't go anywhere.
You're inside the national championships. This is session 2. And this is the vault and beam stream team where apparently all the action is happening. You're wanting to watch this stream team because I don't think the other stream team has had this much drama. Bridget and I feel like we have lived a lot of lives throughout the meet tonight. There has been so many falls. I just can't believe it. But for an update, Utah still leads after 3 rotations by .025 over Florida, and the 2 of those programs, Utah and Florida, have such a significant lead over Oklahoma and Alabama that something dramatic, they would have to count multiple falls in order to not qualify to the final. So both Utah and Florida are in a good place. I'm thinking that Utah had so much stress from regionals that this is their payback of having an easy competition to qualify to the finals. What are your thoughts after 3 rotations, Bridget?
I'm just really stressed out right now, Sam. There's
the most chaotic meet
yes.
we've ever seen.
I thought this second session was going to be nice and smooth, and we were just going to see some hits, and it just hasn't been like that. And that is the, I don't want to say beauty, but it really is the beauty of gymnastics, is anything can happen. And when you are on podium and you are under that pressure and those nerves kick in, it's difficult, and you just can't let it get the best of you. And man, Alabama did not have the beam rotation they wanted. They are ending on vault. This is Jamison Sears leading off this vault lineup for Alabama. She's got a huge vault here, Sam. Really flares it right there. 9 5-star value.
I love the flare, and she's been getting so much better at dialing in the landings. I don't know, a little college stick that she showed, but very controlled.
Alabama coming in. They are 9th on this event and heading over to balance beam. This is Skylar Drazer for the University of Florida, freshman in the leadoff position.
And I can't say it enough, Bridget, just how impressed I am with Skylar. I think she flies under the radar, and she's been the unsung hero, in my opinion, of this Florida team every time she goes up. Oftentimes it's in the first spot. Doesn't quite get the credit I think she deserves. She's been such a rock for this Florida team this season.
She's just like a silent assassin. I mean, no matter where you put her in the lineup, she's gonna show up and show out. They had to replace a lot of routines this year, and I think Florida was really a little bit almost under the radar because not many people thought that they could live up to that expectation, but Skylar proving that not only can she,
she's been consistent in the gym, and it shows up in the meets. And it doesn't matter how much pressure is on Skylar. She's hitting her routines.
Outstanding leadoff for that star freshman. Florida ending on balance beam. Really a good event to end on for Florida. Their nerves, you have to think you're almost a little tired. And sometimes it's better to do balance beam when you are a little bit tired. You're not twitchy, you're not getting that, secondhand twitch. So we'll see what Florida can do over there on balance beam.
Yeah, good omens that Skylar hit a non-wobble beam routine to get things going for Florida.
And over to Alabama, this is Chloe LaCourcier.
She's the stick queen in practice. Can she show up here? Just that step forward. She's been working so hard on dialing in when it counts. Her execution is just chef's kiss on all 4 events, but it's the finding the landing, absorbing the mat to really get the best score for her.
Over to balance beam. This is Sloan Blakely coming after Skylar's huge 9.9.
We've been talking a lot about how athletes prepare to salute, and head coach Jenny Rowland said that before Sloan goes, she likes to talk herself up. She says, "You're enough. You got this. You be you." And all of us have a different process of what we say to ourselves before we go. What did you do?
I normally told everyone to go away from me and that I know what I'm doing and I got this, because that was my way. I knew I was very confident in my abilities, so I was a little different than one might say.
Yeah, I actually didn't like people to talk to me before I got on beam too. We don't have much in common, so I'm learning a lot about you here, getting to work with you for the first time on a broadcast.
Sam, I think we have a lot more in common than
probably. I like to give someone a look. I'm thinking about it. I'd like to look at someone and give a little head nod, and
Absolutely.
it was the non-verbal, I got this.
Yep.
And she hit. It's money, and she remembered, I got to salute before I celebrate. You know, this whole year we've talked about Florida being this really reserved and quiet, and I'm looking at them right now, and that's the opposite of what we're seeing here, especially with Sloan and Jenny's embrace just there.
And what a big moment for Sloan coming into this competition, the confidence, and we are over to vault.
This is a last-minute change. It's Karis German coming in for Lily Hudson here.
A little movement in the lineup.
Really solid.
Yurchenko full, 995 start value. Watching her in practice yesterday, she was trying so hard to stick, and she was actually under-rotating, and not today, not in the competition. Again, unfortunately, Alabama's gonna need some serious help from Florida and Utah and Oklahoma in order to advance, but you gotta go out with a bang.
Yeah, and you know, you could tell they're disappointed, but trying to make the most of it, right? And especially for these upperclassmen, a lot of them, it's their very last meet ever. So it's a tough thing to do, to know that you're not going to qualify, but still trying to make the most of your experience. And I imagine that Oklahoma is doing the same thing on floor.
And up next for Florida, another freshman.
Yeah, you see Jenny Rowland right there talking to Anya Pilgrim. She said she's pretty chill. Just talk to her about being a Gator and tell her it's all for the Gators. She loves Florida more than anyone I've ever met.
Well, Anya's coming after Sloan Blakely's 9.925. So right now, Florida with a 9.9 and 9.925. Anya's set up for a big score here.
Open backhand spring layout, and she is really going to be such a superstar. And I don't know why I even said that. She is a superstar for this team. I think a lot of people saw her potential and started comparing her to Trinity Thomas, which in my opinion, I think is extremely unfair. They have different personalities and different strengths. There are certain skills, and I think her mental attitude and how she approaches it is and could be just as good as Trinity. But seeing her come into her own this year has been really fun for me to watch her journey.
She's just so calm and just makes gymnastics look so effortless.
Yeah.
Really, she makes me think that I could get up there and do it.
And for a freshman, she has good control over her emotions. No highs, no lows. And for a team like Florida that all year people were wondering, could they have the passion and the umph and the heart to get this far in season? And I think they're proving a lot of people wrong.
Absolutely. What a performance for Anya Pilgrim and her Gators. They are off to a phenomenal start. And moving over to vault for Alabama, this is Lily Hudson. Ended up just moving her down in the lineup. She's very comfortable at that third spot, but Karis ended up taking that. So Lily, she scored a perfect 10 on this vault. It's a Yurchenko 1.5.
What helps her is to think about the vault in pieces, one thing at a time, not focusing on the result.
Great job. Standing vault. Wow. One thing that Lily does so well is she finds the landings. You saw her really fight for that landing. Doesn't give anything up.
And for a team like Alabama, you know, to finish on a high note on vault, I think that would really take away all the sting. I say that, and I'm just putting myself in their shoes, and there's nothing anyone can say to fix the mistakes on beam for them, but maybe this will help a little.
You can't go back in time, but you can definitely just work with what you've got and be as positive as you can, and that's what they're doing. Back over to beam. This is Victoria Wynn for the University of Florida.
she loves beam so much that before she mounts the beam, her and Jenny just talk about how much she loves beam. Girl after my own heart. Jenny tells her how wonderful she is at it. Oh, this sounds really nice.
Sounds really encouraging.
It does. I don't know if that would have worked for me, which is why I'm laughing. But again, I think just goes to show it. Wanted to be a little bit more detailed with my questions to the coaches to give you guys watching more details on how different these athletes approach beam.
In the dismount, back handspring, 1.5 twist.
And they didn't need to be a stuck landing. They know it. They are one routine away from a guaranteed spot at the NCAA championship finals. I'm looking at the scores for Utah, and they're just cooking. They're on a roll.
Well, back over to vault. This is the final, I'm sorry, this is the 5th competitor for Alabama, Luisa Blanco. Normally she is the leader for vault, so you kind of switched it up on me here, but Luisa, she's got a big vault here. She's got big things in the future, too.
She thinks about a slow run. She doesn't want to get too excited.
Just a small hop, but execution-wise, it's almost perfect every single time.
Really good vault, and I think we're seeing that emotion because it's, again, some of these athletes' last competition ever. And so there's just so much pressure not to qualify to the finals. Of course, that's a big deal, but it's the last time competing.
And over to beam we go. Miss Leanne Wong coming after Victoria wins 9.9125. Florida looking strong on beam.
After Alabama had a ton of falls on beam, Oklahoma went to beam, and KJ Kindler, head coach of Oklahoma, actually asked AAI to come over to check the beam. They found that it was wobbly, so Oklahoma got extra time on beam. I actually thought that it was a mental strategy for KJ, proving to her athletes there was nothing wrong with the beam, but then they had some issues on beam, so maybe it was had the opposite effect where they were showing that there were possibly could be some issues with beam. I don't know, now that Florida has 0 wobbles, no problems, I don't think there's anything wrong with the beam. What do you think?
I don't think there's anything wrong with the beam, but again, with the beam being on podium, it's a totally different feel, and I'm sure it could have been a little wobbly because, well, it's on podium, but Florida is having no issue there. Leanne, that was a college stick. That was a college stick. In college right now, you really want to see these athletes hold the landing. Not quite a hold there, but again, Florida pretty much guaranteeing their spot in the NCAA finals on Saturday.
Well, Leanne could have won an individual title on beam, well, any event, I guess. With that college stick, I don't think she'll get that title, but like you mentioned, they're guaranteed a spot in the final.
And over to vault, this is the final competitor, Gabby Gladio for Alabama.
Money. Yurchenko full straight to the ground, and how great that would have been for them to finish and be in contention for a spot. Really disappointing.
Not the meet Alabama thought they would be having tonight, but a lot of highs throughout this meet for Alabama, but just too many lows to help them advance, which over to beam. Here we go.
It's crazy how this meet has gone. I would have never predicted that 2 teams would just break away from the rest.
This is Ellie Lazari, the final competitor for Florida. Again, already guaranteeing their spot in the finals on Saturday. But Ellie, she's capable of a big one here. And again, another opportunity. She could take an event title tonight with this beam routine.
She's been an SEC beam champion. Oh. Wow. How strange. I I think she knows the time starts for her to get back up. They're getting the trainer. And man, it hurts to have a beam bite. I'm not quite sure if it's anything more than that, but just a beam bite hurts so bad. And again, they don't need this score to qualify on Friday, but they do need Ellie Lazzari if they want a chance for the title on Saturday.
See head coach Jenny Rowland making sure.
And I'm guessing that they're not going to have her finish.
Oh, looks like she is. Ellie is tough. She is tough as nails.
And the only reason I can think of that she would finish is sometimes when you have a scary fall, you want to get back up and almost erase it from your brain to help you for the next competition. What do you think? What's Jenny thinking?
I completely agree. I think Jenny put it in Ellie's hands. I believe the conversation was very similar to a, are you sure? Do you want to do this? Because for Ellie, this is a big moment to prove to herself that she can do it.
Yeah.
And to prove to her team, I'm not giving up. Really
way to finish.
Nice finish for Ellie. Again, like we mentioned, they did not need that score in order to advance. They will be advancing no matter what.
It looks like she's still limping a little bit. And sometimes when you, even just a Charlie horse, it's hard to push through your feet on skills on beam, and she had no problem finishing that routine. Just shows how tough she is.
Back to vault we go, Sam. This is Sierra Brooks from Michigan competing as an individual. Yurchenko 1.5 twist.
Wow, beautiful job, Sierra Brooks. And again, I love the leotard. I gotta say, it just is stunning.
Sam, are you saying you would like to wear that leotard?
No, that is not what I'm saying. I don't think it would look as great on me.
Well, over to being the final competitor, competing as an individual, Miss Jade Carey for Oregon State.
She's an athlete that's going to continue her elite career directly following this. You talk about how different the elite world is from college, and one of the main differences you pointed out, Bridget, is how often you compete in college. But I think there's something superhuman about Jade, because for you to go through a full college season and then jump right back in while you're still training those elite skills, she has 2 routines.
Yeah, Sam, I could never. It takes so much mental toughness to be able to go back and forth, because it's a completely different arena feeling. It's a completely different feeling in general. So for Jade and a couple other athletes who are competing in the NCAA right now and transitioning to elite for the summer, and Jade looks like she needs a 9.975 to take the all-around title.
She's got to be perfect. We have not seen a score that high. That means almost all of these judges need to score her a perfect 10. Was that a balance check? That was a little slight adjustment. She was supposed to go directly into that back handspring layout, but I don't know if the judges knew that.
Sam, sometimes you gotta fake it till you make it.
It's really interesting talking to her college coaches. Her dad is also her elite coach and one of her college coaches, and they say this routine is nice because there's less skills. So she's learning how to breathe, learning how to enjoy and have fun, and they're finding that it's actually helping her elite routines. This is gonna be close, Bridget.
That was an excellent routine. And what I love is the energy she showed after. She's excited to see her so joyful in college and in elite. It's just such a treat to see.
Head coach Tanya Chaplin with a big hug at the end. I think if you're an individual, you'd want to be in Florida or Utah's rotation tonight and no one else.
Wow. What a final rotation. Well, if you are Utah and Florida, you are excited because you will be advancing into the finals on Saturday. Wow. Well, Sam, it's been a pleasure tonight. I'm Bridget Sloan with Samantha Peshek, and this was the Vault and Beam live stream. We'll be with you on Saturday. Make sure to tune in. We'll see you there.